My husband fell in love with Emily at first sight while we were married. The three of us were on the road to divorce when we were involved in a car accident. When we opened our eyes again, we had been reborn to the day my husband and I had just gotten our marriage certificate. This time, we both chose to end the marriage. He and Emily quickly got married and left the country, while I stayed in China to further my medical studies and worked diligently. 6 years later, with Emily's help, he became a renowned painter abroad, with each of his paintings selling for astronomical prices and being adored by thousands. I remained at the hospital, saving lives. A family gathering brought us back together. He was arm in arm with Emily, looking triumphant, and mocked me coldly from above. But when he found out that I was planning to marry another man, he roared in anger. I was just momentarily confused. How could you be with another man? When I arrived at the private club, many of my relatives had not yet arrived. I found a relatively quiet place to sit down and opened my computer to look at a difficult case. The patient's condition deteriorated rapidly, and I had to quickly find the best surgical plan. When Sean and Yuna arrived, I was lost in my thoughts. All the relatives saw them and immediately stood up and rushed over to praise them. Sean has made a name for himself abroad at such a young age. Yuna really found a good husband. I heard that Sean was invited by the Art Association, direct translation of the institution's name, to return to the country to participate in an art exhibition. He's so talented and has brought honor to our family. Sean, our child also loves to paint and dreams of calling your name. Could you give him some guidance? Song Yuna blinked her eyes, wrapped her arm around Sean's arm, and laughed softly. We're all family. There's no need to talk about guidance. If my nephew has any questions, he can just call Sean. As soon as she said that, the relatives' flattering words poured out like beans, all wanting to use their thin blood ties to pave a path for themselves or their descendants. Sean raised his head slightly, putting on an air of superiority, enjoying the moment when everyone was fawning over him. I finished what I was doing, took off my headphones, and yawned. Everyone's attention was drawn to my voice. Why is Victoria here? Doesn't she hate these gatherings the most? Someone muttered under their breath, catching Sean's attention. Sean narrowed his eyes and looked at the person who had just spoken. Has Victoria not attended any family gatherings in the past few years? The person nodded repeatedly. Sean laughed sarcastically. 6 years ago, after Sean and I were reborn, we arrived at the day when we were to meet our families after getting married. Under the gaze of all the relatives, he rushed to Song Yuner's side, hugged her, and confessed his love. Song Yuner burst into tears as if she had survived a disaster. Immediately after, Sean asked me for a divorce, saying that the person he truly loved was Song Yuner. This sudden marital breakdown shocked everyone, and most of the relatives who came today had witnessed it with their own eyes. Victoria now works at the People's Hospital and works day and night shifts. She never comes to occasions like this. Who knows why she suddenly came today? Maybe she did it on purpose to get Sean's attention. After all, she was pretty embarrassed about what happened back then. Sean is now a famous painter, and Yuna is his agent. They're a perfect match, a couple made in heaven. Victoria wants to rekindle her relationship with Sean now? She's crazy. Sean's face showed disdain as he tightly embraced Song Yuna beside him. That's all in the past. Yuna is the only one I truly love. Everyone fell silent instantly. After all, Sean and Yuna were a loving couple, and there was no point in bringing up the past in front of them. I just glanced at them indifferently, then turned around and ordered a drink from the waiter. Sipping my freshly squeezed orange juice, I just hoped that my parents would come soon and announce the important news so that I could rush back to the hospital for my shift. But Song Yuna didn't want to see me sitting around doing nothing. She walked over to me with a swaying gait and picked up a strand of my loose hair and looked at it. Cousin Vicky, you have to take good care of yourself. Look at how rough your hair is from staying up late. In an instant, everyone's eyes were on me. Many people took on the air of elders and scolded me. Vicky, you're the same. Why did you have to become an emergency room doctor? You don't have time, and you don't make much money. You're almost 30 and still don't have a boyfriend. Sigh, you really have no ambition. No wonder you haven't dared to come to family gatherings these past few years. I met Song Yunner's disdainful gaze and finally had the chance to take a closer look at her and Jo Sean. Song Yunner's dark hair was tied back, and she was wearing a classic cashmere coat from a high-end brand. All her accessories were custom-made jewelry, exuding an air of luxury. Jo Sean, standing beside her, wore a suit from the same collection, with only a wedding ring on his finger. But paired with his unique, cool demeanor, he looked like a rich young master straight out of a novel. No wonder everyone said they were a perfect match. Now that I looked at them, they really did seem well suited for each other. I rubbed my temples, which were throbbing slightly, and moved away from Song Yunner. Emily, are you done? Once you're done, stay away from me. Your cheap perfume is giving me a headache. Song Yunna's expression changed, but before she could say anything, Sean Jo was already rushing to her defense. Victoria, your sister is just looking out for you. Why are you giving her that look? I frowned, feeling a wave of irritation rising within me. But mindful of today's events, I forced myself to suppress my anger. I'm not giving you the cold shoulder. I've been working all day and am too tired to catch up with you. Can you stay away from me? When she said this, Jo Sean's expression darkened even more. After all, he was used to being adored by others and felt that his life was far better than mine. In his eyes, I should be envious of everything he had, not so calm and indifferent. Song Yunner keenly sensed Jo Sean's mood and quickly spoke up to calm him down. Husband, today is a family gathering. Let's not argue with our cousin. After all, something like that happened back then. It's normal for her to still be hung up on it. We should be more forgiving. Jo Sean's expression softened. He raised his hand and ruffled Song Yunner's hair, his eyes full of love. You're so gentle, Yunner. You understand human nature. Victoria, after all these years, you're still as stubborn as ever. You're so annoying. If you had been a little kinder back then, maybe our ending wouldn't be so miserable. Hearing this, I felt a moment of confusion. In my previous life, Jo Sean and I met while traveling and grew closer during the journey. We eventually became travel companions and naturally ended up together. The first few years were happy, but everything changed after we got married. Marriage is a big event that you have to announce to everyone, so we hosted a banquet at a hotel and invited all our relatives and friends to celebrate. Song Yunna arrived late, wearing a bright red dress. Jo Sean was stunned when he saw her at first glance. At the time, I didn't think much of it, but in our daily life, Jo Sean became increasingly distracted and even refused to sleep in the same room as me. A woman's intuition told me that something was wrong, but I refused to believe it. After all, Jo Sean and I shared the same interests and had similar values. How could he do something to hurt me? But Jo Sean came home later and later, and I noticed him checking his phone more and more often. My emotions told me it was impossible, but my rational mind had already concluded that he was cheating on me. Until one day, when I got off the night shift, I happened to see Sean hugging Yunna tightly downstairs in front of my house. That was the first time I had ever broken down in my marriage. I asked him like a madwoman why he was doing this to me and whether he loved me. Jo Sean's response shattered my heart completely. He violently pushed me to the ground, held me down forcefully, and spoke coldly. Victoria, look at yourself. Your hair is a mess, you're disheveled, and you have dark circles under your eyes every day. You look like a woman 20 years older than you. Emily is so much better than you. She's bright and beautiful, gentle and lively. Only Yunna is my ideal woman. Our marriage is a complete mistake. The person I thought was closest to me in this world was now hurling insults at me for another woman. His gentle gaze disappeared, replaced by endless disgust and hatred. I just felt ridiculous. Before he met Song Yunna, he practically worshipped me. He would feel sorry for me when I stayed up late for work, feel sorry for me for sacrificing myself for this family, and understand my strong personality because he knew I was doing it all for the sake of our family. But then another person suddenly appeared. This person was the complete opposite of me, so he found her refreshing and fell for her again. I can understand that everyone gets tired of a repetitive lifestyle, but I cannot accept his betrayal of our marriage. Seeing that things had fallen apart, Sean resolutely asked for a divorce. I lost everything and finally couldn't take it anymore, so I agreed to divorce Sean. On the way to the divorce, our emotions were still unsettled. Song Yuner was still standing there, mocking me. In the midst of the argument, neither of us noticed the sports car around the corner. The huge explosion knocked me unconscious. When I opened my eyes, I was back to the day after we got married and met our parents. To avoid repeating the same mistake, I let them be together. They got together naturally and went abroad to develop their careers, while I was finally able to pick up the scalpel again and continue the work I loved. The difference was that with the experience from my previous life, I quickly became the head of the emergency department in this life. I also met the love of my life. I said goodbye to the tragic fate of my previous life. All my relatives arrived one after another. My mom and dad arrived late, holding hands, and smiled when they saw me. Wei, have you greeted the elders? I pointed to the crowd and smiled. No one has time for me. Song Yuna and Sean Zhou have returned to the United States. My mom and dad's expressions immediately darkened, but they didn't say anything. After all, they had made a name for themselves abroad, so it was only natural that some people wanted to climb the social ladder. Human nature is to look down on those below you, that's normal. But when our family approached, the topics of their conversation with Sean Zhou were still mostly disparaging towards me. Although Sean misjudged you back then, he did meet Yuna, so it can be considered a blessing from heaven. That's right. Vicky is a decent person, but she's too stubborn and inflexible. After all these years, she still doesn't know how to smooth things over with Emily and her brother-in-law. If something happens and she needs their help, they won't want to help her. That's right. It's not a big deal, so there's no need to make things so awkward. She's so inconsiderate, making all the relatives feel awkward. Song Yuner wore her usual gentle smile, but she couldn't hide the pride and self-satisfaction in her eyes. She poured a glass of wine and looked at me. Wei, don't take what they said to heart. No matter what, I'm still your Emily. If you ever need anything, I'll definitely help you. Zhou Shan rolled his eyes but still chimed in, you're an adult now. Learn some social graces. We can help you with some things, but we can't solve everything for you. My mom and dad trembled with anger when they heard this, but I quickly stopped them and smiled. Yes, whatever you say is right. After saying that, I pulled mom and dad to find a place to sit down. The dishes we ordered were served one after another, and everyone raised their glasses and asked Sean to talk about his art gallery abroad and how he made his fortune. There are so many artists abroad. It must have been very difficult for Sean to make a name for himself, right? Sean hugged Song Yuner and kissed her cheek in front of everyone before speaking. It was indeed very difficult, but my wife has always supported me wholeheartedly. If it weren't for her, I might have given up and found a small company to work for until I was old. Song Yuner looked at Sean Zhou affectionately and said coquettishly, it's mainly because my husband is talented and his paintings are beautiful. Otherwise, he wouldn't have achieved so much. You two are a perfect match. You've achieved success together, haha. I have to say, Sean made the right decision to divorce his wife and be with Yuna. Everyone chipped in and dragged me through the mud. I became the bridge between them and Sean. My mom was so angry that her eyes turned red. She leaned close to me and whispered, it's just a few paintings. What's there to be so proud of? They're together, so let them be together. Why do they have to drag you into it? These people are so shallow. All they know how to do is flatter the powerful and put down the weak. Just wait until Gabriel shows up. They'll start fawning over you again, you'll see. When she mentioned my fiancé, Jiang-won, I couldn't help but smile. Everyone was gathered around Shou Shan, ignoring my mom and dad, who had organized this gathering. But we didn't say anything and waited silently. It wasn't until the waiter walked up to me and gently said that all the dishes were ready that someone noticed our family. Zhou Shan took a look around the clubhouse. The club was located in the city center, with original world-famous paintings from private collections hanging in the corridors. The people coming and going were all celebrities from various circles, and even the most inconspicuous crystal chandeliers were worth 6 figures at a glance. He looked at me again and sneered, Victoria, so you organized today's family gathering? Can your meager salary even afford a piece of cake here? What? Did you take bribes at the hospital? Are you trying to show off in front of all of us? I rolled my eyes and ignored him, instead taking my card to the front desk to pay the bill. Jiang-won called me on the way and told me he might be a little late, asking me to entertain the relatives. I smiled and chatted with him for a while before turning back to the private room. But just as I reached the door, I was stopped by Sean Joe. He looked me up and down with disdain, then threw a thick wad of cash at my feet. "What's the point of pretending to be something you're not? Take this money to pay the bill. Don't say I don't care about you." I pushed the money back and explained indifferently, "I don't need money, and besides, this money isn't." "Don't pretend. How much do you think you make? I told you when we divorced not to do such hard and tiring work. You don't make much money and no one appreciates you. What's the point?" I rolled my eyes. At that moment, Sean Joe's image as an artist who valued art above all else, which he had cultivated online, completely collapsed. He was just a profit-seeking petty person, and almost all of his relatives could see it, but they didn't say anything because of his authority. I didn't bother with him and walked into the private room. Just as I took 2 steps, I ran into Song Yuna. She walked over, wrapped her arm around Joe Sean's arm, and cooed softly, "Honey, can you show everyone your paintings?" Joe Sean dotingly pinched her cheek and agreed. Just as I was about to push open the private room door, Song Yuna called out to me again. "Wei Wei, I hope you don't harbor any illusions about Sean. He is my husband now, your brother-in-law. Don't think I don't know you deliberately organized this dinner to get close to us. If you're not doing well, it's your own problem. Don't try to use your family connection to climb up our social ladder. Don't play these petty games in the future. It will only make us dislike you more." I raised my eyebrows, didn't defend myself, and replied indifferently. "Okay. These two really are a perfect match. They always project their own thoughts onto others. In reality, no one even cares about them. I certainly don't." Joe Sean and Song Yuna left the private room, and the relatives finally shifted the focus of their conversation to our family. Uncle spoke first. "Sister, brother-in-law, it's not a holiday today. Why did you decide to gather everyone together?" Mom and Dad exchanged glances, then took my hand. "There's some good news we want to celebrate with everyone." Just as I was about to speak, the private room door was forcefully pushed open, and Song Yuna stormed over to me with a gloomy expression. "Victoria, did you ruin Sean's painting? This was supposed to be auctioned off, and it's worth at least 5 million. Joe Sean walked in holding the painting, his gaze fixed on me with anger. "I was worried you couldn't afford it and was going to give you the money, but it turns out you deliberately went to the front desk to damage my painting. Victoria, how shameless can you be?" My gaze fell on the painting. The vibrant colors on the canvas were marred by glaring black marks, ruining the beauty and harmony of the entire piece. I looked at the two of them, their faces full of anger, and felt a wave of impatience rise within me. "I've never seen this painting before. Instead of slandering me, why don't you check the surveillance footage to see who did it?" I had been busy all day and just wanted to announce the good news and go home to rest. Song Yuna coldly rejected my suggestion. "Sean and I always have bodyguards with us, and the painting was handed over to the staff to be placed at the front desk. No one except you went to the front desk to pay the bill. It must have been you." Relatives' faces also showed a hint of panic. They hurriedly persuaded me, "Wei Wei, you were the only one who went out. Hurry up and apologize to Sean and Yuna. We're all family, they won't really be angry with you. That's right, it's 5 million. If they really make you pay, you won't be able to afford it. Hurry up and apologize." Song Yuna raised her head high and said coldly, "Considering we're all relatives, if you kneel down and apologize to me, you won't have to pay the full amount. 2 million will suffice." Joe Sean casually dropped the words and gritted his teeth. "Victoria, apologize properly and I'll forgive you. Otherwise, we'll see you in court." I rubbed my temples, unable to hide my exhaustion. "I already said it has nothing to do with me. If it comes to that, let's call the police." The commotion caught the attention of the club staff. But no one could pay attention to us. All the waiters stood respectfully at the door, welcoming the man who had just stepped inside. In the midst of the argument, I fell into the man's warm embrace. "Baby, what's wrong?" Jiangwen looked at me with concern. "Is your head hurting again?" He gently placed his palm on my temple and started massaging it as if no one else was there. Song Yuna narrowed her eyes and said coldly, "Who are you?" Jiangwen recognized Song Yuna's face. and a hint of malice flashed in his eyes. The club manager greeted Jiang-Wen. "Mr. Gabriel, how come you have time to come today? Is there something you need?" Jiang-Wen nodded. "I'm here to announce our engagement to my fiancé's family." As soon as he said that, the whole room fell silent. Little cousin, who was standing in the crowd, suddenly screamed. "That's Jiang-Wen, the chairman of the Jiang family." As soon as he said that, everyone's expressions changed. The Jiang family was a leading enterprise in Los Angeles, and its business empire affected the lives of almost everyone in the country. I ignored them and just relaxed, rubbing against Jiang-Wen's chest. Exhausted and feeling wronged, I told him what had just happened. Jiang-Wen's face turned grim, and he immediately decided to have the manager check the surveillance footage. Song Yuner's face turned pale, and she called out to the manager, "Don't bother checking. It's not a big deal. We're all family, so I don't want to make a fuss." Jiang-Wen gave the manager a cold look and ordered, "Check it. Miss Song, damaging a painting worth $5 million is no small matter. I want to find the person who did this and have them face legal consequences." Cold sweat trickled down Song Yuner's forehead, and her lips trembled, but she couldn't say a word. Zhou Shan stared at Jiang-Wen's hand, blocking me with a complicated look, not knowing what to write. My mother smiled and pushed her way out of the crowd. "Gabriel, you're here? We've been waiting for you for a long time. We wanted you to announce this good news in person." Jiang-Wen's expression softened instantly, and he greeted my mother. Then he took my hand and introduced himself solemnly. "Greetings, elders. I am Wei Wei's fiancé. We are planning to hold our wedding in 7 days, so we wanted to gather the elders together to inform you of this. We just didn't expect such an unexpected turn of events." As he spoke, he glanced at Song Yuner and Zhou Shan, who were frozen in place. The elders who had been flattering Zhou Shan just now laughed awkwardly a few times, then acted as if nothing had happened and joked around. "So Wei Wei has such an excellent boyfriend. No wonder she didn't accept any of the men we introduced to her over the years. She was quietly working on something big. Vivi is really something. Her boyfriends are also impressive. Mr. Gabriel is way better than some painter. With a fiancé like that, why would she ruin a $5 million painting?" Everyone who had ignored me earlier suddenly became obsequious, while I just smiled faintly and went through the motions. Song Yuner wanted to interject and say there was no need to check the surveillance footage, but Jiang-Wen refused. The staff worked quickly and played the surveillance footage within 10 minutes. After I entered the private room, Song Yuner went to get the painting by herself and took out a can of black paint in a corner where no one could see her. She smeared it on the painting without hesitation. Everyone present looked unhappy. Especially Song Yuner's parents. They wanted to step forward to plead for mercy, but Jiang-Wen called the police first. Song Yuner was taken away for investigation for damaging the priceless painting. Zhou Shan did not show any concern for Song Yuner. Instead, he rushed in front of me, spread his arms wide, and blocked my way. Jiang-Wen's gaze was fixed on Zhou Shan. I glanced at him with a smile. "You get in the car first." Jiang-Wen frowned but still listened to me and turned to leave, kissing me once before he went to claim his territory. Zhou Shan stared at me, his eyes filled with confusion. "How can you be with Jiang-Wen?" His question made me feel strange. Why can't I be with him? His expression was ugly, as if he couldn't understand how I could find someone better than him. I laughed sarcastically and said lightly, "I have my feet firmly on the ground and work hard to improve myself. I deserve anyone." "Zhou Shan, you're not really that great." Except for his acting, he really didn't have anything going for him in my eyes. After saying that, I turned to leave. But Zhou Shan grabbed my wrist, his eyes reddening. "I know I'm not that great, but you were once my wife. How could you be with someone else?" I didn't quite understand his logic, but that didn't stop me from refuting him with my own logic. "We've already divorced. We've divorced in both lifetimes. Zhou Shan, you chose Song Yuna in both lifetimes. What you should do now is disappear from my sight." He shook his head with red eyes, refusing to let go of my hand. "How did you meet him?" Hearing this question, I found it difficult to answer. In the previous life, it wasn't just the three of us who were reborn after the car accident. Jiang-Wen, who happened to be passing by that area, was also caught up in it and woke up to find himself back in the past. He investigated me to figure out what had happened. But as we spent time together, we began to develop feelings for each other. However, the shadow Joe Sean cast over me was too large, and after 6 years of entanglement, this was the result. I pressed my lips together and said coldly, "It has nothing to do with you." As soon as I finished speaking, I turned and left. Joe Sean hurriedly followed behind me. Wei, do you still have feelings for me? I didn't need to answer him. In my previous life, he did such terrible things to me. Rebirthing and not continuing to take revenge on him was already generous of me. Besides, I now have someone I truly want to spend the rest of my life with. I don't want any more ups and downs. As for Song Yuner, I only ask that we handle this professionally. She damaged Joe Sean's painting, and I don't care if Joe Sean chooses to pursue the matter, but I will definitely sue her for defamation. We just didn't expect this incident to uncover a series of other issues. Joe Sean didn't sign the reconciliation agreement and insisted on a harsher sentence. Song Yuner was so angry that she dragged Joe Sean into it and accused him of plagiarism. The two of them fought like dogs, causing a huge commotion. After the situation calmed down, I finally understood what was going on. Song Yuner was a talent agent in her previous life, while Joe Sean was just an amateur painter with no real talent. But in modern society, it's often not talent that matters, but packaging. After being reborn, Song Yuner and Joe Sean hit it off and went abroad to study, but in reality, they were secretly buying paintings from street artists, which Joe Sean would then add a few strokes to and package as the work of a once-in-a-century genius painter. The two made a fortune abroad. But the truth always comes out eventually. After being exposed, they turned their attention to the domestic market, hoping to repeat their trick. However, this time, before they had a chance to copy, the truth came out. When I found out about this, I felt nothing but a sigh of regret. Actually, there's nothing wrong with living a quiet life. At least it's safe, and you don't have to go against your conscience. It's just a pity that people who have lost their conscience don't have that kind of awareness. During this period, I was still busy in the emergency room, while Jiangwen was busy preparing for our wedding. That day, there was a series of car accidents on a section of the road, and the emergency doctors continued to rescue people. I rushed from one patient to another. I just didn't expect to see Sean Zhou among the injured. He was lying in a pool of blood, and the fear in his eyes had not yet faded when he saw me. Wei, am I going to die? Will I have a chance to live again? If I could live again, I would definitely not make the wrong choice. At this point, his eyes were filled with hope, hoping that heaven would give him another chance. I didn't understand this kind of attitude towards life, and I scolded him harshly. Sean Zhou, don't think about such things. People should live their lives properly. He looked at me, tears of regret streaming from the corners of his eyes. Then you must save me. You won't abandon me, right? It was all my fault. I'm willing to start over with you and treat you well for the rest of my life. I've come to terms with it. Only you truly love me. Song Yunyul only loves money, she was just using me. I coldly placed the oxygen mask over his mouth, cutting off his rambling words. After working with other doctors to get him into the ambulance, I turned to treat the next patient. When I finally finished, it was already late at night. Several major surgeries in a row had left everyone dizzy. Jiangwen had bought a large amount of late-night snacks and left them in my office, waiting for the doctors to finish their surgeries so they could eat something hot. My colleagues took a sip of warm soup and smiled wearily. Dr. Victoria, your fiancé is so thoughtful. He's brought us food for 2 days in a row. Although we only have time to eat this one meal, you should thank him for us. When I thought of Jiangwen, I felt a wave of warmth in my heart. Just as I took 2 bites, a nurse rushed into my office. Dr. Victoria, you have to go take a look. Patient in bed 16. I didn't have time to think about who bed 16 was. As soon as I heard that, I hurriedly put down my lunchbox and ran toward the ward, instructing the nurses to prepare emergency measures as I ran. As soon as I rushed into the ward, I was met with Sean Zhou's sad eyes. The breath I had taken was stuck in my throat, unable to go up or down. Wei, why haven't you come to see me these past 2 days? Don't I mean anything to you anymore? I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I'll be good to you from now on. The high-intensity surgery left my legs weak, and hearing Zhou whining made me even more angry. Zhou, this is the emergency room. If there's nothing wrong, please don't waste medical resources, okay? Also, I already have someone I love, and our wedding is in 3 days. I hope you won't bother me again for personal matters in the future. He stared at me intently and said firmly, I don't believe you. If you've fallen in love with someone else, why did you save me first when I was in the car accident? I stood by the bedside and coldly explained to him, doctors have to prioritize patients with serious injuries. I saved you first because your injuries were severe. I glanced at his bedside, your attending physician is Dr. Wang. I hope you won't bother me anymore. After saying that, I turned and left. Zhou distraught voice rang out behind me. I don't believe it. Victoria, you must like me. I'll find a way to prove it. I pretended not to hear him and continued on my way. During the time Zhou was in the hospital, he would always make some noise to attract attention. The nurses and his attending physician couldn't handle him, so in the end, they had to call me to deal with him. 9 times out of 10, I refused, but my colleagues couldn't stand such a troublesome patient, so they always urged me to go. That day, I walked into the ward, sat down on a chair with my arms crossed, and closed my eyes to rest. Zhou picked up an apple, carefully peeled it, and handed it to me with a flattering smile. Wei, you must be tired. Eat an apple. I opened my eyes and snorted, you know I'm tired, yet you're giving me more work to do. Zhou, please recover quickly. I've really had enough of you. His eyes reddened, and he stammered, I just missed you so much, that's why. I pinched the bridge of my nose and didn't take the apple. I might as well get married tomorrow. After the wedding, I'll take my honeymoon, and by the time I'm back, Zhou should be out of the hospital. Then I'll be able to get rid of him for good. After dealing with Zhou, it was time for me to get off work. Jiangwen was already waiting for me at the door. He ran over and took my hand, saying softly, vacation. Little Dr. Victoria finally has time to spend with her husband. I wrapped my arms around his waist, took a deep breath, and replied in a muffled voice, yes, I can finally rest. I'm so tired. He looked worried and asked me what was wrong. I briefly told him about how Sean had been bothering me recently. Jiang Wen's expression looked a little unpleasant, but he just pulled me closer into his arms. Get some rest during this time. Once that Zhou guy is discharged from the hospital, I'll go talk to him. Jiang Wen would take care of all my troubles for me, and hearing him say that, I felt at ease and left everything to him. After returning home, I fell into bed and slept until dawn the next day. It was my mom and dad who dragged me out of bed and helped me put on my makeup. The wedding venue was decorated exactly as I had imagined, and even the wedding dress was handmade by a high-end designer from abroad. When Jiang Wen and I first got together, he promised me that he would give me the best and make up for all the pain I had suffered in the past. Over the years, he has truly kept his promise. But just before the vows, Zhou appeared at the door in a suit, sitting in a wheelchair. He was holding a bouquet of flowers and looking at me with deep affection. Wei, you can't marry someone else. You are my wife for 2 lifetimes, and you can only be my wife. The guests below were instantly in an uproar, and Jiang Wen's face turned ugly as he pulled my hand harder and harder. I patted him comfortingly and walked down the stage, holding up my skirt. The smug look in Zhou's eyes became more and more obvious, as if he was certain that I would choose him. I stood in front of him, lowered my head slightly, and snorted in derision. Then I raised my hand and slapped him without hesitation. Zhou, you ruined my perfect wedding. How dare you show your face in front of me again? Where do you get the confidence to believe that I would choose you? Just because of your shamelessness and underhanded tactics? He covered his face, staring at me in disbelief. We've lived 2 lifetimes. What does that mean? We're the protagonists of the world. As long as I want it, I'll succeed and get it. Yuna is like that, and so are you. I shot him a cold glance and slowly backed away. What are you talking about? I don't understand. He suddenly grabbed my hand, his eyes wide with fury. It was my fault in our previous life. I cheated on Yuna with Song Yuna, then you drove us to our deaths. When we woke up, we were back to the moment we got married. I thought I loved Yuna, so I abandoned you without hesitation. But now I've realized that I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I curled my lips slightly and asked, what nonsense are you talking about? Jiang-won, who was behind me, finally couldn't hold back any longer and rushed forward to push Zhou Shan's hand away and pull me into his arms. He coldly said to the security guards, call the police and tell them that a madman has barged into the wedding venue. Zhou Shan's eyes darkened as he stared intently at Jiang-won, as if he was about to pounce at any moment. What madman? I'm telling the truth. Jiang-won, you're just a lowlife who stole someone else's wife. You'll get what's coming to you. I sighed slowly. Zhou Shan, I never thought that Song Yun'er's imprisonment would affect you so much. My husband and I won't hold it against you for ruining our wedding. We'll find you a good hospital to treat you until you're better. As soon as she finished speaking, the security guards rushed forward and pushed Zhou Shan out of the venue. At that moment, Zhou Shan truly panicked. What do you mean? Wei Wei. I'm not sick. I truly love you. Don't do this to me. I was wrong. His voice grew fainter as Jiang-won pulled me by the hand and walked slowly toward the stage. We exchanged rings and kissed. We bid farewell to all the shadows of our past lives and welcomed the rising sun of a new beginning. As for Zhou Shan, he'll probably need to spend some time in a mental hospital to get his head straight. After all, no one is the protagonist of the world. We can only be the protagonists of our own lives.